The golfers who hit the ball the shortest, I would see through the ball looking like this.
Yep. Hips back, head forward, flexion.
The golfers who hit it the longest would look more like this through the hit.
Much more back bend, hips are forward, head's back, taller,
Yeah.
more extension in the pelvis.
So guy on the weekends who beats me, but doesn't hit anywhere, 350 me and Bryson.
Right. You want to make sure when you're coming through the ball that the hips slide and push forward, the full range of motion. So they're sliding, extending and turning so that your butt is tucked up underneath of your torso, and then there's no weight on your back foot. So that'd be the first part I'd be practicing, making sure the hips keep pushing forward and up through the ball the whole time and space of the downswing.
Okay.
It's like they go forward and they go up for a longer period of time through the hit.
Forward and up. The golfers who hit the ball the farthest go the most forward and up.
Oh yeah,
The golfers who hit the ball the shortest would go the least.
definitely.
You guys hear me say all the time that you need video feedback. And the newest version of Live View Golf is absolutely the best form of simultaneous video feedback. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. Live View is super easy to set up and use. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or your phone. You put that right on the ground. I can literally see myself as I'm swinging. It is the best form of practice. I encourage you guys to check out the newest version of Live View Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. All right, guys, so we're back with Steve for video number 2 on how to hit the driver farther, and really why the amateur golfers we see struggle to gain distance. In this video, we're talking about the follow through. In last video on Thursday, we talked more setup and backswing.
Right.
So if you guys haven't watched that, I would check that one out. As all things golf swing, the more pieces you can get correct earlier on,
Yep.
right, the better. But there's a handful of things that Steve and I want to talk about here. Really the main things that I've seen both of us do in a ton of in-person and online golf lessons that we help amateur golfers hit the ball farther, really through the hit. And Steve, I just want to do like a quick demo and see if you think this is good. And if you guys can kind of guess some of the differences. Why don't I show what we see all the time, the bad version, and then I'll do the better version, and we'll talk through some different feels and drills, right, for them to do it. So let's say this is the bad version. Let's say that they have the setup and backswing kind of all good, but through the hit, the golfers who hit the ball the shortest, I would see through the ball looking like this.
Yep. Hips back, head forward, flexion.
This is like, and I don't mean to discriminate, but this is like the 80-year-old golfer who kind of you see on the first tee in the morning who never missed a fairway but hits it like 100 yards, right?
Yeah, and this high off the ground.
Yeah, real low and short. No offense. Now, the golfers who hit it the longest, me, Rory McIlroy, Bryson, me, would look more like this through the hit.
Much more back bend, hips are forward, head's back, taller, more extension in the pelvis.
So guy on the weekends who beats me but doesn't hit anywhere, 350 me and Bryson.
Right.
So a lot of the body motions, right, through the hit.
It's a huge part.
And then there's some cleanup stuff we want to talk about, like the arms and hands.
Yes.
So let's start with the body motions and like the forward bend versus back bend.
Yep.
Yeah. So when I'm working through the hit, when I come down, what am I looking to feel or accomplish in terms of like the extension stuff?
Well, we'll start with the lower body first. You want to make sure when you're coming through the ball that the hips slide and push forward, the full range of motion. So they're sliding, extending and turning so that your butt is tucked up underneath of your torso, and then there's no weight on your back foot. So that'd be the first part I'd be practicing, making sure the hips keep pushing forward and up through the ball the whole time and space of the downswing.
Okay.
It's like they go forward and they go up for a longer period of time through the hit.
Forward and up. The golfers who hit the ball the farthest go the most forward and up.
Oh yeah.
The golfers who hit the ball the shortest would go the least.
Definitely.
So my hips going not forward and staying down would look like this.
Yes. Put a lot of pressure on your back. You hurt your back.
Yeah, more here. I see this all the time.
We see it every day.
And then this would be the appropriate motion.
Yep.
So you're saying as I'm working through the ball, that's sort of like the starting, that's the engine
Yeah,
piece.
and we talked about drills. What we could do, ready? I'll get behind you.
Okay.
Just do your follow through. So if you're at home and you put like a chair or something right next to your right hip, just go forward, just do your follow through. So you can really see where you started to where you finished. It's probably about 6 to 7 inches, maybe more of hip slide.
Yeah.
And the extension. So you do that one more time. So I put this right against your hip and then just push your hips forward and up. So you had the slide and then the extension part.
And if I did the bat, I would basically just stay on that.
Correct, you'd stay on it. And then the extension part is if I hold this even with your belt line, when you come through, your belt is above where it started. So,
this way.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So belt high, hips forward. That'd be like the first part I'd be working on would be the body motion or the lower body motion.
Feeling the hips push up and forward.
Yep.
Let me hit one with just that first, Steve. So the hips pushing up and forward. If I had a wall here, I'm working away from that.
Yep.
Belt buckles up and forward into the follow through. Let me hit with just that.
That was awesome. Nice height on that.
Yeah,
that's the other thing too. When you start working on these motions, the body motions, you'll start hitting the ball higher.
Higher, launch higher, carry farther.
Yes.
Right, relative to normal.
It may feel to some people that they're jumping
okay.
doing this, because remember I did just say, you know, you're feeling like your belt's getting higher. So it may feel to some, which really is happening, that you're jumping. Your legs are straightening. That's helping you raise your belt up. So some people may feel like, man, I'm jumping, or I feel like I'm standing up. Well, that's what
it's about what you're supposed to do.
What it should feel like coming
And then
through.
obviously you're going to turn into it with that. But so you just answered one of my questions there. So for the golfer who's like, hey, how do I get my belt buckle higher and push my hips forward? That's coming from the straightening of the legs.
It's the leg straightening.
Now, let's say I have a hard time with that. Am I kind of I'm kind of feeling that almost right away. I mean, it happens through impact.
The golfer starts to jump and extend when the club's parallel to the ground on the downswing. That would be like when it's actually happening when you measure it. But where someone feels it's going to be different, where someone that really may struggle with the extension, they might feel it as soon as they start down.
Yeah, I find most golfers need to feel it sooner than they think.
I would say, how many times, a little off topic, how many times do we get a note from someone that says, oh, you know, I have too much early extension in my swing.
Yeah.
And we both are like, you know, you probably don't.
Right. You need that.
I would say if more people had more early extension, they'd hit it farther.
So yeah, 100% agreed. So with the legs here, as I'm straightening it, obviously the early extension, they need more turn and tilt.
Yep.
But so you're feeling like I'm extending the legs. And I like that feel, like I'm straightening the legs as I'm pushing the hips up and forward. Now, if I do that right, what happens to my body with that, my torso?
Well, you should have some tilt.
Tilt this way away from the target?
So on that part of it, right, when you, again, do your setup. When you do this motion right, because now we're leading up to the body, if I held a club right on top of your left shoulder right here, let's say that's about, 5 inches away so from your left ear. Mm-hmm. When you swing through, if you can just knock it out. When you swing through, your head should never hit this. So your hips were fully forward and extended, and you had the proper back bend through the ball. Because you can see how your thoracic and your head is away from the shaft.
Yeah.
To also help give you more launch, lift, shallow out the angle of attack.
So as my lower body's coming through,
yep,
I'm gonna feel like my hips are moving forward and up as the legs extend.
Yep.
And as my lower body, my legs are extending, hips are moving up and forward, I'm having those sensations, if I don't have them already, like my chest is a bit more up towards the sky.
And it might feel like your head's going backwards through the ball.
Head back, chest up.
Yeah.
See if I can hit with this British
So
Open.
I'm gonna give it one more up for the drill, if that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So right on your left shoulder.
Hips are working forward.
Right, that's exactly the proper body motion right there through the hit.
And that feels normal to me because I do a lot of that.
Correct.
But if you're watching, relative to if you have you're hitting it short and you can't gain distance, you don't know why, that's gonna feel to you like you're bent back way, way, way more than even you think. Like watching that right now and then go try that, it's gonna feel like you're way more, my hips are still up and forward.
Well, I was just gonna say that. What'll happen is when we start putting this drill in, they'll do it one more time.
Yeah,
we'll do a practice swing, get the ball ready.
Okay.
So what'll happen is, do it right here. When you come through the ball, your head will miss this, but move your hips back. So you did the proper extension of the upper body, but you may like drop kicked it or hit behind because the weight's back. So we always want to make sure that, start with the hips. Make sure your hips are forward and up.
Straightening the legs. Chest is up, head
and
back.
You have the back bend with the lower body weight forward.
Okay, let me hit 1 or 2 with that. Straighten the legs, hips push up and forward. My head is back with the chest up, as if I have that object over my shoulder.
You should hit this the highest when you do it. Yeah, there's your highest shot.
Yes, that ball.
See the launch on that thing?
Launch a little higher than normal, nice draw.
Yep.
I think people would kill for that. And that feels like all of those pieces we mentioned, it's okay for you to have to feel those and really actively feel. Like that feels for me for sure, like my legs are straightening. Obviously, as I'm pushing my hips forward and up, I'm turning.
Yes.
Right? My body's turning towards the target. So I'm not doing that and just with no turn.
I'm glad you said that, because that turn component will make your head not literally go backwards. It'll stay stable.
Yeah, okay.
We just said it feels like the head goes back.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, because there's a turning component in there that stabilizes the head on the follow through.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. So for you, if you're watching, if you had that object by your hip, excuse some of the objects in the back, if you had the object by the hip and your head, the worst golfer, the hip would stay on this club and the head would hit this club.
Right.
The longest driver, the head would stay back of the forward one as the hip pushed forward.
Pushing forward to create that massive side tilt or back bend through the ball that you'll see really with every top long driver.
Do we want to touch briefly on some of the rehinging as we go through? Because I think these body motions are kind of the main deal.
Yep, we've definitely hammered on it, but we can't do this part enough. We see it every single day, these
all
body
the time.
motions.
We need to keep doing this. So give me a short synopsis of like what I'm trying to do with the rehinging.
So when you're coming through this ball right here, right, we said the body's fully extended. So let's say the body's fully extended by the time the arm's parallel to the ground. The next piece to get a little more whip crack will be be some more recocking of the wrists, and then refold your arms behind you. That would make the club swing faster as well. You'd transfer more energy to the club head through the ball. And
we probably at some point in time will do like a separate video on just this topic.
Yep.
Because I see with the driver a lot where I have to teach the golfer the rehinging and the refolding, and every time that golfer struggles with distance.
Yes.
To create some of that crack. So as I would be working through, right, the simple version, obviously the hips forward and up, the head back, I'm letting this club head then rehinge and fold.
Correct.
Rehinge and fold.
And I want to say just one more thing. How we touched on the prior video at the backswing, how the right shoulder moved to the midline.
Yep.
Well, now the left does the opposite in the follow through. So when you do that again, what you just do with your one hand. See how your left shoulder moved around to the midline?
It's not out here in front.
Right.
Yeah. Got it. So I'm doing the opposite of what we did on the way back.
Correct.
Which just serves logic. Like if you take a club in your hand, you're like, all right, I'm trying to hit the ball farther. What would I do with my...
Well, you can hear it. You can hear how you're having more whip through the ball, in addition to, talking about the pieces. So I would say like the hierarchy of this stuff is we would do the body pieces first to what we would see. That's common.
Yep.
And then as you get more and more sophisticated, then you start adding on the wrist rehinging, the arms folding, and the shoulder moving more around. You just keep adding more and more detail and layering it on there. I'm
glad you said that. Like when we do the lessons with someone, it's almost always in that order. Be the lower body pieces, the upper body extension stuff with it, and then you fine tune.
And you're typically doing that stuff with someone who's a lower handicap player or a better skilled player.
Yeah.
Or you have the guy that was, say, a 15, we've been coaching for a while, and then we start adding in all these little details at the later on. Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna do one where I put it together. Start with the hips forward and up with the legs.
Head back, chest
up. I'm letting the wrist and arm rehinge. And just kind of feeling that with lead arm only when they're doing that.
That's fine. Like you said, we got another one coming on that.
Yeah, we're going to do a little more on that. Okay, hips forward, head back, let it rehinge. Yeah, and that feels really good to me. I really like that rehinging feel on the way through too.
Yep, high draw.
So that's 370. Steve, driver distance. First video backswing and setup, I would watch that first. This is the downswing one. Any golfer who came into us that we were working with, and let's just say we couldn't see their swing, but we could build sort of a pattern they could follow or step-by-step sequence to increase their distance. 90 times, 9 out of 10 times it follows these similar things. I mean, we're doing these a lot. So kind of regardless of where you are with your pattern, there's a high likelihood you should start at the setup pieces, do the backswing, do these to the hit. All of them will help you hit the ball farther. And those are the reasons to look as to why you're not hitting it farther. There's some different things you can do. Everyone could get more speed. There's speed training and stuff, but in terms of swing mechanics, that's really where we want to live. If you guys want to check out Steve, work with him in person, we'll put his link down below, or you send us a message, we'll hook you up. Awesome coach to work with in person. If you want to work with us online, check out CogornoGolf.com. Any questions about this driver stuff, leave a comment. Like the video if you did like it. That really helps us get this video out to more people. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks, dude.